The Virtual Grip Network and the Bootleg Racing League welcome you to the Super Late Model Series presented by Gargamel's Kitchen. As tonight we go racing at iRacing's virtual Hickory Motor Speedway in what's expected to be a busy 100 laps here from Hickory, North Carolina. My name's Justin Pritz, alongside with the booth. Many stars who grew up at this facility and so many drivers who made their names here. In turn, tonight could be extremely exciting for these drivers as they battle their way around this racetrack.
That's why they call this probably the greatest short track in all of short track racing here across the country. A lot of drivers cut their teeth here. We've seen some of the biggest names in motorsports and in NASCAR competition make their starts here and become champions in NASCAR and many other forms of motor racing throughout the decades that this track has been established in. I gotta say, it's an exciting time here. A lot of drivers are looking forward to come out here tonight.
Herzog does, but in particular, let's take a look at your details here for tonight as we get ready for a fairly cool racetrack at 81 degrees Fahrenheit. 72 degrees is the air temperature Fahrenheit. Wind at a default southwest now at 2 miles per hour as well tonight. And how do you drive around this facility at 0.36 miles? It's a little bit different compared to some of the other racetracks we see on the platform, with 14 degrees of banking in 1 and 2, 12 down in 3 and 4.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of different things here. This is really going to test the drivers when it comes to these super late models at this circuit. Drivers are going to have to be careful of how they approach into the corners, entries, and make sure that they try to hug that yellow line. Now, later on down into the run, we could see drivers utilizing that second lane, really, but for the most part, it's going to be a bottom-feeding night here today.
With that need to be at the bottom, let's take a look who's towards the top of the standings after the opening race of the season. See the beautiful sights here at Hickory, here from our various cameras from our producer Trevor Greenfield. With Matthew Thunhorst, though, it's been a talking point, Taylor, that Thunhorst has been strong the past few seasons with these super late models, and this season, coming into tonight off a victory at his favorite track in Nashville. How we perform tonight is the major question as you see how they finished up to end the first round.
Yeah, Matthew Thunhorst is going to be really tough to beat here tonight. He is a man on a mission trying to see if he can redeem himself in order to come out on top as a new champion in this new season. But he's got a couple of tough competitors here tonight. You got J.R. Shepard out there racing tonight. Also, Justin Morton, who's going to be also a driver to keep an eye on here tonight as well, who looks to try to see if he can have a shot to go toe-to-toe with the two veterans of the series.
Don't forget about Austin Belke as well, fourth in the point standings after the opening race of the season. Plenty to discuss as many of these drivers look to also improve, in some cases from a rough beginning here at this racetrack and at the previous racetrack, rather, at Nashville. How is practice going, though? Jason Menda, top of the board, the only driver in the 13.8, followed by Dean, Shepard, Smith, and Morton. A bit of a different look to practice, I will say, because usually you see the same drivers up there. Not so much today, with some different drivers and different names saying, I can be fast here too today.
And look how close, in fact, the times are. In fact, your top six is separated by just about a tenth of a second from Jason Menda to Kevin Moody. That's just going to show how tight and meticulous this race is going to be. In fact, the entire field, which is a total of 19 cars, just shot over 0.3 of a second separates these times, which is going to be very competitive here tonight.
And keep in mind that driver you mentioned in the 6th position, Kevin Moody. The rookie, just the second start for him in this series. Can Kevin Moody get the job done tonight is the major thing as he smacks the wall down and puts up a 14.5 from that. That's the major thing for the rookies. Getting the consistency down for the long run, it seems.
He certainly is really putting a good, consistent run. In fact, he's one of only a few drivers out on the track that have run over 40 laps here. I mean, the driver who's run the most laps so far is Justin Morton, who has run a total of 60 laps so far, make it 61 now as he comes across the line, but really hasn't broken out of that 14-second bracket here for the longest time. His fastest time is a 13.954. So he's trying to see if he can find that extra tenth. But right now, just trying to get a good, consistent run here before we get started with tonight's race.
Get those feelings of the track dialed on down in turn. Tonight's coverage presented by Gargamel's Kitchen, a food-grade nitrous oxide provider located in Denver, Colorado. A proud sponsor of the Bootleg Racing League. Visit their office at 2045 South Fortier Street. And we'll call it 720-707-6178. As drivers are making a call towards pit lane because practice is over. After the past 20 minutes to finally sort things together for some of the drivers, after what's been a busy night in other series for them across the BRL, it's time for the super late models to showcase what they can do here at Hickory. Drivers making their way to tonight's starting grid behind the iRacing pace car. Let's take a look at how they'll start here tonight from Hickory. On the pole with the invert is Joe Sagawa alongside Kurt Smith on the front row. Row 2 will feature Brian Dean and Austin Belke on the outside of Row 2. Justin Morton and J.R. Shepard are in Row 3. Rounding out the attendance inversion in the top 7, Matthew Thunhorst. Top 8, remember, based on attendance inverted from the previous race. Ryan Seneker starts in 8th in turn with Michael Goodman in the 9th spot. And rounding out your top 10 is Kevin Moody, the rookie.
11th will be Donnie Moore, followed by Joe Snyder in the 12th position, with Bruce Pearson and Todd Liston in 13th and 14th in row number 7. Row number 8, you'll find Stephen Hilbert with Jason Menda in 16th. Rest of the field goes as follows: Mark Herzog, Jeffrey Harden, and Ruben Altice returns to BRL competition here tonight in the number 70 machine.
Let's look top to bottom at tonight's running order as you see some of the various looks and paint schemes. A few new looks. Bruce Pearson bringing the Grease Lightning Cleaner degreaser machine, for example. Also a different look as well for Mark Herzog compared to the past, as well as for Jeffrey Harden. Ruben Altice bringing back that ink machine in the 70 car. Your keys to victory tonight, Tailors. We get ready to go racing here. 0.36 miles, 100 laps up the board.
Be ready to take on and steal that bottom lane from any driver who makes a mistake in front of you. You got to capitalize that here on the early stages here tonight in this race. But secondly, of course, it's always going to be the most number one thing with super late model racing. Take care of those tires at all times. And finally, go out there and have some fun early in the season. Let's get started.
Green flag is out. We're underway from Hickory. And a good launch for Joe Sagawa, already clear for the race lead. Battle is on for second. Dean dives his way to the bottom. Kurt Smith tries to stay up top. Dean
Trouble,
clears.
turn 4. 87 machine goes around. That's Todd Liston, who just loops it around in front of Ruben Altice and a couple of other drivers. That's the second week in a row that Todd Liston has had trouble.
And it's Stephen Hilbert who gets into him indeed to bring up the first caution already here at Hickory. For Hilbert, the rookie was on the bottom, but one of the main spots when it comes to entering the corner, Taylor, if you hit the brake too hard or jab it in too much or carry too much speed, you're likely sailing off like the way we see with the 10 right here on the replay.
It's right on board with the Ohio native, and there's the contact, and gets a little more contact to the nose of that number 10 machine. It's crinkled up right there around the hood. So he'll have to come in and get that fixed possibly, but unfortunately for Todd Liston, he'll now drop back to the 19th position after that contact.
And towards the mid to back pack at the time of the incident, Todd Liston just had no idea that was coming. Good job
Certainly
of
did
locking
not.
it down.
He did a great job of locking it down and making no issues. When how about also the 70 of Ruben Altice of having it locking down in order to not hit the 87 machine?
We're under caution, and it's Joe Sagawa still with the race lead. A +2 already for Matthew Thunhorst, and already double him up as the command with 1 to go signaled. Keep an eye on how this fares out off the launch with Joe Sagawa, with Brian Dean to the outside, Justin Morton right there outside row 2 already for this restart. Pace car is off, green flag is out, we're back on our way. Near contact already for the lead. Dean trying to hold on to the outside, can't make it work. Back to the bottom they go, the top 3 now. Kurt Smith jumping up to 3rd, Dean in 2nd, trying to peel Sagawa off the bottom.
Sagala's doing a great job of trying to hold that inside lane with Brian Dean right there in hot pursuit. Kurt Smith, and how about the battle for the 4th position between Belke and Morton as they go side by side. Belke completes the pass off of turn 4.
Morton had to give that up too, was on that top line you talked about, Taylor. You can't run on for the long run. He had slipped back pretty quickly, despite the difference is with the banking there. It's a tough part of the racetrack to hold on.
Yeah, the top part is not your friend right now at this time. We may see some drivers towards the back half of the field may consider going up to the top side to try to put a little rubber in as this run goes on. But for those who are towards the front of the field, you do not want to give up that bottom right away at this time. The tires are too good enough to use, and also make sure to try to save us a little bit as you go on through this run. We may see some drivers back their corner up just a little bit here in these early stages, but for the most part, towards the front of the field, they gotta push on and hold on to these tires for as long as they can.
He's still trying to sort a way around the 81 of Joe Sagawa, keep in mind as well. You see the differences on how they are able to stick to that bottom of the racetrack. Both of them carrying a fair bit of speed on the corner, but Brian Dean a little bit better, keeping it lower on the groove in 1 and 2 in particular. 3 and 4 the better of the example. Or was with Joe Sagawa getting loose. There goes Dean off the bottom. Dean tries to go for the diamond line now at the edge of the apron, hits the apron.
Gives a little bit of the bumper, slides it in there. That's going to cause Sagala to go up to the top side of the racetrack, side by side. Battle for the race lead as they come across the line. I think Dean got that lap, and he will complete the pass as they come through the middle of 1 and 2.
Joe Sagawa out of the race lead already. Austin Belke to third, Morton up to fourth. Kurt Smith and all that shuffling has lost the bottom as well. And a rough start for Matthew Thunhorst in the midst of all this. Matthew Thunhorst just getting up to 6th position as a result of Smith being trapped up top.
Yeah, Kurt Smith now is up, stuck on the top side of the racetrack as Michael Goodman looks to the inside. He's going to complete the pass before they enter turn 1. Now Donnie Moore tries to capitalize along with Jason Menda in the 45 machine. They're going to try to see if they can fill that gap to prevent Kurt Smith from getting to the inside right now.
Lap times turning quickly around the 14-second bracket currently. Already 84 laps to go in this one. Currently, the top 10 separated by 3 seconds. Amongst some of the battling still. Kurt Smith up the track. Drops out of the top 10 already. Mark Herzog with a return, jumping up in turn to the 10th position, +7.
Yeah, Herzog having a good run after gaining those 7 spots so far as you're on board with Kurt Smith, who is right behind him, behind Joseph Snyder and Herzog. As you're right on board with him, he finally was able to get to the bottom of the racetrack and now has to try to fight his way back up through the field.
Kurt Smith, a major fallback. Meanwhile, Brian Dean, a major pull ahead. Right now, running about 2 to 3 tenths quicker than Joe Sagawa. In fact, Sagawa lost 3 tenths last time by. As we take a look towards where Austin Belke is in company, this is where it all started for Kurt Smith, remember.
Yeah, Belke was able to shove his nose to the inside of Kurt Smith and make it stick through the middle of the corner and just complete the pass. And unfortunately, Kurt Smith could not get down quick enough in order to stop the bleeding effect. And unfortunately, it cost him valuable spots all the way to P12.
See, this battle starting to form up with Sagawa still riding behind. The differences in the times in the intervals, you see. It's currently now to about within a couple 100ths gain for Belke, but Dean has pulled away by 6 tenths from the 81 with that short run and long run pace being such a balance.
It certainly is, but right now we're starting to see some of the drivers up towards the middle pack of the field inside that top 5 really starting to log some laps and get a good couple of runs in right now as we see working down the back straightaway. Currently the fastest driver on the track is Joe Sagala, who set the fastest lap last time by. And as they come across the line this time around, it's now going to go to Matthew Thunhorst and J.R. Shepard, the ones who are starting to progressively catch up to the back end of this group.
Okay, a little bit loose coming off the corner as well. Quarter distance already complete. Taking a look from J.R. Shepard, meanwhile, who's holding on to the 5th position. Not going to be an easy fight, though, because not only is Shepard using the apron here to try and rotate, Matthew Thunhorst is right there with a chance to pounce the second Shepard gets too loose.
He certainly is, and Thunhorst is going to try to find that opening as he has to check up a little bit as Justin Morton gets a little bit loose right there in the middle of turns 1 and 2. Dives it back in as you're right on board with J.R. Shepard, who's trying to play keep away from Thunhorst and stay up ahead of him.
So at this point, do you try and save the tires or try and gain the positions and then save? How do you get that pattern right?
Well, here's the problem right now for Thunhorse and J.R. Shepard. They are currently trapped behind two other competitors who's trapped behind Joe Segala. Segala, of course, is a competitive car, but the problem is compared to our other competitors behind him from third to about sixth, it's kind of almost kind of like a bot or a cork situation. Now, once we see Belky get around Segala, he will be able to cause that effect where these drivers can really pick up the speed, but due to the fact they're just stuck behind and can't find the room to make the pass, is kind of clogging the run right here for these competitors behind.
70 to go, and while this has all been going on, remember Dean's lead being up to about 7/10, in fact? It's going down. Dean's trying a different line, and Dean is starting to struggle a little bit. In 1 and 2 in particular, 3 and 4 still good. 1 and 2 having to take a much wider arc compared to Segala, Belky, and company.
Yeah, Segala and Dean ran almost identical lap times last time by as they work their way out of turn number 4 as they come across the line. It is going to be Austin Belky who ran the fastest lap out of the top 5 right now as we watch on. So he's starting to get into that phase where the tires are starting to get a little bit wear and tear on them. Drivers are going to have to find ways to take care of them for the rest of this race here as we get ready to cross over into the halfway point in a few laps.
Belky starting to drift back, meanwhile, was riding all over the back bumper of Joe Segala's car. And that's the major thing I've noticed. Well, there goes that point. Joe Segala hits the wall and loses all the time picked up the second he got breathing room.
Belky's are going to be all over the back bumper of that number 81 machine right now as they continue to work their way across. You're right on board with the Loves Park, Illinois driver as you see that Rainbow Warrior getting ever so closer to the back bumper of the 81 machine.
Looking to close up to the back bumper, nearly getting there. Now the gap is down to about half a second again. Dean continuing to try and cradle the apron. Segala trying to match the line. No one else in the line been able to dunk on out quite yet. Belky trying a different line to get a pole. Nearly hit the back bumper instead.
On there, as you're right on board with Belky here, he tries to see if he can get a good launch off the corner exit, then dives it in a little bit higher line compared to what we see with Segala, and diamonds the corner pretty much compared to what we see Segala doing. He's just running right across the bottom of the racetrack here, and as they work their way through off corner exit, Belky just is able to get a little bit of a better run, but the problem is he can't get close enough to dive it to the inside on the back straightaway here in order to make that pass complete.
Keep in mind, you see just how close the car's getting to bottoming out. No major bottom outs tonight, it looks like, compared to Nashville. But still, you push too hard and smack that edge of the valence down to the racetrack, you're pushing up the track.
You certainly are as we go towards the back half of the field to 13th, where Ryan Seneker holds off Jeffrey Harden, Kevin Moody, and Bruce Pearson, who are in a fierce battle. How about the rookie trying to see if he can get a better run here right now? Struggling to stay out inside the top 15, but he is working his best as Ruben Altis looks to the inside of Bruce Pearson.
Ruben Altis holding on the dive. Some heavy and very busy battling. 6 seconds back of the race leader, 13th to 18th, all in this gaggle. And I've noticed this too. Nashville had the same circumstances where they may be outside the top 10, but they race very hard back here for every spot.
They certainly do, and that's what's the amazing thing about this racing series here with the BRL Super Late Model Series presented by Gargamel's Kitchen. These drivers are absolutely professional when it comes to Super Late Model racing, and they race hard. From the drop of the green flag to the fall of the checker flag, they will race each other tooth and nail and continue to do battle all the way through. It's great to see them as we see a pass for second place happening. Belky finally gets to the inside of Segala.
Side by side, Belky peeling the 81 off the bottom, hits the apron, pushes Segala up the hill. Belky tries to clear and does. Austin Belky up to second, and now it gets interesting just before halfway. Justin Morton also jumping in.
Thing is, how quickly Segala get to the inside now. He's now going to get blocked by J.R. Shepard. He's now also going to get blocked by Matthew Thunhorse. He might have a shot to drop down in front of Michael Goodman, which he does. Smart move, and now falls back to 6. So that's how you're supposed to do it. If you really have to issue where you cannot get to the inside quickly, find a hole as quick as possible and dive it in there.
Now here comes the major thing. How long does Dean hold on up here? Because remember, Dean was falling back and falling off before that pass. Belky a little bit slower, in fact, still, but the half a second fall off has to be a concern for some.
Just a little bit right now, especially for drivers such as Dean and Belky, who are known to have some good runs in the beginning, but towards the second half, they kind of struggle off towards the end. Now, J.R. Shepard, Matthew Thunhorse, they are starting to work their way through. We'll see if they can find an opening to get around up to the front of the field. And same thing with Justin Morton. So it's really these 5 drivers we have to watch to see who makes that big decision move first. And Belky was already the first one to start making some progress right at this moment.
Just past halfway, Belky continuing to use the apron to try and rotate the gap down to 4/10, smallest it's been in the past 40 laps or so of this one. How does Belky do it is the major thing. Does Dean give the space, or does Belky force him to give him the space? Nearly force the issue instead.
The chrome horn coming into play here tonight at Hickory Motor Speedway, possibly. Belky gets a great run down the back straightaway, but not close enough to get to that back bumper as we watch Morton, J.R. Shepard, and Thunhorse really start to put on the pressure.
The second Dean slips back. The second Belky, Morton, Shepard, and Thunhorse have to be there to pounce. Belky still trying to find a way around here. No major bobbles yet for the 23, still holding station.
Holding station is what he needs to do here as best that he can. 55 laps completed as they work their way through the middle of turn 3 and 4. Belky gets a good run off corner exit. Will he show the nose this time? Not quite yet as they work through 1 and 2.
Dean hit the wall coming down the front straightaway, caused the checkup. Dean gives up the bottom. Belky peels him off the bottom. Side by side, up at the line. Belky with the preferred groove, looking to take the race lead for the first time tonight. He brings Justin Morton with him as Belky is clear and Dean backs it down.
What about Thunhorse? He took a peek to the outside lane. He has enough room to where he can try that, possibly, as here comes down to the inside of Brian Dean and almost try to pick up or get around J.R. Shepard, but not able to do that. Drop him outside into the 5th spot.
Dean still holding on to the edge of the lead grouping in turn, pulling up in front of Joe Sagawa. Now Morton with the chance to try and pounce. You see the back bumper of Shepard. Here's a look up at the front. Now how does Morton play this? Remember, Morton, he's just been having Belky open the doors for him. What's it going to take to make sure that he breaks the door off its hinges this time when he wants to go without the help?
Justin Morton is a well-respected driver here in the community. He's going to do it correctly. He's going to do it smartly in order to battle on and have a way to steal a race win away from Austin Belky here in these closing stages as they work back through turn 1 and 2, but he's got to get the drive off in order to get that run on the back straightaway.
You see the major thing too? You seen all those cars just now, Taylor? Lots of traffic ahead. Remember that battle that was going on for about 13th all the way back to as far as 18th? Those are the cars they're about to have to deal with soon.
It is, and that's just going to make things a whole lot more interesting here for your top 4, top 5 as they continue on back into turn 1 single file right now. No one's really making a move to try to get to the inside of anyone at this time, but once we hit lap traffic, it's going to get even more exciting.
Seen lap traffic be very cordial in the past in this series. How would it play a factor, though, with the dirty air is the major thing, too, to think about here. So it's Belky, Morton, Shepard, Thunhorse, the top 4 currently. Dean's starting to fall back. Joe Sagawa starting to fall back. Goodman battling with Donnie Moore for the final inversion spots amongst the top 8 currently. But Morton looks hungry. Num, num, num with that bumper down off of 2.
He is really getting hungry right now, trying to see if he can find that opening to the inside of Austin Belky. He might have a shot as they're closing into the back bumper of that 22 machine, the Grease Lightning machine of Bruce Pearson, who's having a little trouble to keep up with the Lightning as they try to work their way out of turn number 4. He is right there to see what happens.
There is a look at that brand new paint scheme for the 22 machine tonight. That is a cleaner degreaser we talked about that has a very intriguing name, as we mentioned, but Pearson will be a major potential factor in this battle here. Now is starting to feed some air to Austin Belky within 6 car lengths of the race leaders.
It's going to be interesting to see how this will play out for your race leaders when they catch up to the back bumper of Bruce Pearson. Now, the good news is there is a lot of drivers that he's by himself, so he can really take care of it and move out of the way of the competitors. So we see that. The problem is going to be when we get to drivers who are battling each other for position right now. So for Pearson and Liston, they're kind of in a little bit of their own area right now, not having any pressure or battling like with Ruben Altice, Kevin Moody, who we'll see later on. So that's going to be where it's going to be interesting to see where these battles are going to pick up.
Traffic now within 3-car lengths. There goes Pearson up to the top side. Not the best timing for Morton, though. Having to go a little bit lower arc. Checks up second on back in turn, and that's the challenge of lap traffic. You never know when you might reach him in some circumstances. You reach him in the wrong spot, you have to force yourself to get out of the gas.
You certainly do, and we're going to see that here as they get further and further deeper into lap traffic. There you see Brian Dean getting around Bruce Pearson also as they work their way across out of turn number 4. 73 laps on the board right now.
Coming up to the start of lap 74 already. Jason Menda quietly amongst those now in the battle for the inversion spots. Looking to battle behind them, Joseph Snyder. Looking to work around is Mark Herzog. Herzog up to 10th. Kurt Smith now peeling Snyder off the bottom as well.
Kurt Smith finally trying to make a run up towards the front of the field right now after having to stay inside 12 fast. Kevin Moody has some problems.
Kevin Moody, who is having a strong run now, has had to put his car into the pit lane. Significant trouble for the 80. It's a black flag for Moody, who had an unsafe pit exit because he bounced off the wall and it put him in towards the pit exit here at Hickory.
Tough break for Kevin Moody here tonight. That basically will take him out of contention along with the other rookie, Stephen Hilbert, who is also on pit road with that damage he received.
24 laps to go. Meanwhile, up at the front, J.R. Shepard starting to put on the pressure with Matthew Thunhorst. Here comes Shepard. No, couldn't get close enough to Morton.
Meanwhile, there comes Matthew Thunhorst as well. You got these 4 cars under a blanket battling for that coveted win here at Hickory Motor Speedway. Could we see back-to-back from Thunhorst, or will someone else take the reins and get a win here tonight? Here they come out of turn number 4, as we see here right now, just under trouble. J.R. Shepard around.
Thunhorst spins, Shepard into the wall. Caution is out as Dean gets into it. And 2 of your top contenders crash in 1 and 2 in the battle for third.
Tough break for 2 of your strongest competitors. Your winningest driver last season and your winningest driver of all time in BRL competition.
We've seen the tempers flare from them a little bit in the past, but this may take the cake. Let's take a look at this one.
Right here, Thunhorst gets a good run off corner exit. He tries to show his nose because he sees an opening, but it's not big enough, and around they go, and both of them make contact to the inside or outside walls. As a couple of other cars also make contact with each other. You see Liston and Kurt Smith getting there, and there you see significant damage to that 98 machine.
Both of them having big spins. Thunhorst to the inside. Shepard with a hard lick to the outside wall, though, right in the path of Brian Dean, who's up to third.
Boom, there's the contact. Brian Dean almost makes even more severe contact with J.R. Shepard, but I think he was able to avoid a little bit of it, as we'll have to wait and see here as if we'll see J.R. as well as also Thunhorst come down pit road.
Already see Hilbert is amongst those in the pit lane, parked at around 50 laps ago, now under caution. Dean electing to keep the track position. Thunhorst back to 9th position. Here's a look at the replay.
Yep, Thunhorst thought he had an opening, and J.R. Shepard tried to shut the door, and both of them make contact, and around they both go.
Shepard back to 14th from it, and further back, in fact, to 16th. So can say this, both of them did not, surprisingly, come down to get the fast repair. Neither of them taking the repairs.
Interesting call indeed, I had to say. For Thunhorst, though, he's right there in the area where he could possibly just try to get some points and go for the pole position in getting that 8th spot, which he currently sits in 8th as of right now. But for someone like J.R. Shepard, he sits 16th. He's got a lot of work to do here in just a little over 20 laps, or a little under over 20 laps to go.
16 to go, to be precise. Belke, Morton, Dean, Sagawa, Moore, Goodman, Menda, Herzog, the top 8 now. Major tire spin for Dean. Back on her way as Dean tries to hold on to it. Slides off the bottom. Nearly into Joe Sagawa as the top 2 run.
Top 2 start to run away as Belke and Morton now start to go battling. Side-by-side battle for position as Menda tries to get to the inside of the 26th of Donnie Moore as we watch Thunderhorse now try to fight his way back up through the field.
Moore can't get the run quite yet. Now does underneath Sagawa. Meanwhile, behind them, Matthew Thunhorst on the prowl tries to find a way around Jason Menda. Sagawa nearly to the wall. Up the track goes Sagawa as Menda gets underneath. Here's a look on board from Thunhorst. Now trying to move up to 6th position.
Oh, this is going to be fun watching Thunhorse try to fight his way up through the field. Same thing with J.R. Shepard, who sits in 15th right now. As they work their way through, he gets around Sagala for position. Move him up to P6 as he sets his sights on Jason Menda.
Thunhorst is clear. Now having to figure out a way around the 45 once more. Sagawa already falling to the outside of the top 8. Trying to push hard for the inversion spots. And then the backdrop is there it is right there. Jeffrey Harden, welcome back to the fray. Looking to move up to a +10. Looking for the final inversion spot with his friend on the outside. Harden moves up to 8.
Kurt Smith had picked up another couple of spots as well as he moves up to P13 now after getting around Kurt Smith, and he is making quick work of those towards the back half of the field as he sets his sights on Joseph Snyder. Thunhorse trying to find the opening around Menda.
10 laps to go, coming up to 9 already in this one. There is Shepard, you mentioned, in 13th. Right behind Joe Sagawa's fallback with Sandaker now underneath, the Michigan-based driver. Just not the restart that blue and yellow machine wanted or needed, to say the very least. As we're down to the final 8 laps to go in a wreck in the back. Sagawa contact. That's with Snyder. No caution. We stay green to Snyder. Nearly loops it again.
Great heads-up driving by the rest of the field, but for Joseph Snyder, not the night he was hoping for here as you ride on board with him, as he has to try to keep Kevin or Bruce Pearson behind him as we take a look at that replay.
What a big crash down the front straightaway now in live action. Joe Sagawa keeping it straight. Sagawa has major problems starting from this, and now is really demolished in the 81. That suspension completely destroyed.
Sagawa showing a little bit of frustration over there at Joseph Snyder as he gave them the bumper before they get into turn 1 and 2.
Trouble! 3!
Jason Menda around.
Menda gets turned by Thunhorst. Caution flag is out. Could this be the race is the question.
Pensacola native will take it into the pit box. Unfortunately, his night done. As we'll take a look, same thing kind of happening right here, like we saw with J.R. Shepard, as well as also Matthew Thunhorse.
That looked more like a racing deal than, compared to the last one, I will say. If you look back at the past for battles at, say, Bristol, come to mind, you see similar moves such as that one when you need to go to the bottom.
Certainly looks to be the case as well, Justin, as we ride on board with Menda, who's trying to get himself turned right back around, but unfortunately decides to take a tow.
So Menda back to 17th position, losing laps in turn because of that, already falling behind Bruce Pearson, the only driver 1 lap down who is getting the lucky dog. Take a look one more. Thunhorst really put in a lot of wheel into that too.
Tough break here for Thunhorse, who's just trying to work his way back up to the field before it's all said and done. But looking at timing and scoring right now, I think it's safe to say this race will end under caution.
So a late race caution here with Austin Belke the leader, Morton, Dean, Moore, Thunhorst, Herzog, Hardin, Goodman, the top 8 as they run. Expecting to get that confirmation here this time. Just 1 lap too late for there to be a final restart. Instead, we just got past the point of no return. 1 to go. Austin Belke, it was able to pull away several drivers off the bottom. Was aggressive when he needed to. Was patient when he needed to. And now is half a lap away from another victory in this series in his first of the year.
Great way to kick off the season for Austin Belke to get a win early on. That's going to be good points for him. Justin Morton, another podium finish for him as well. And of course, Justin Prince, go ahead and bring him on home.
For the first time in Season 18, Austin Belke wins in the Super Late Models. He does it at Hickory. Morton in second, Dean, Moore, Thunhorse, the top 5. What was a busy night for some of our competitors here at Hickory. Your thoughts, Taylor, quickly on how things broke down tonight.
Very exciting, smart driving by Austin Belke to be able to capitalize on others' mistakes to guarantee him a victory. And of course, here at Hickory, it's a great track, but it's one of the hardest tracks to make a pass on here, as we saw tonight, as you really have to be careful of where you utilize the passing and also utilize when to use the chrome horn. And for some drivers, I'm pretty sure there's going to be a little bit of conversations after the race regarding what just happened.
Post-race coverage coming up in just a few moments as Austin Belke celebrates. Take a quick step aside. You're watching BGN here from Hickory. Welcome back to Hickory for more coverage of the BRL Super Late Model Series presented by Gargamel's Kitchen. Let's take a look at your unofficial race results here tonight as Austin Belke picks up the victory under caution over Justin Morton. Brian Dean recovers from losing the lead and getting bounced around a bit to third. Donnie Moore very quietly up to fourth spot tonight. Thunhorse rounds out the top 5 in action-packed formation, to say the least, should say. Herzog, Hardin, Goodman, the top 8. Seneca and Shepard, your top 10.
Then you have Kurt Smith in 11th with Ruben Altis in 12th, Todd Liston in 13th, Joseph Snyder in 14th, Joe Sagala in 15th with Bruce Pearson in 16th, and the following 3 drivers did not finish: Jason Menda, Kevin Moody, and Stephen Hilbert.
That's looked on to that tonight's running order, but in the end, it is Austin Belke who gets the chance to celebrate. Austin, you're amongst the cleanest drivers of the night. You're amongst the most respectful. You're some of the smartest. How does it feel to win your first race, first of all, here tonight?
Boy, Justin, it's a big relief to come so close so many times last season and have Matt beat me. I thought I was driving those races really good, but I just didn't save the tires enough. I didn't keep up with the changes on the track and all that stuff and the different lines to run, and it was just to do it here. I've come so close to so many wins here. Even last night, I had JR pit me for one, and that sucked. And this is a rough track for me. So to finally get the monkey off my back for this series and this track is pretty astounding.
Talk us through your progression through the field tonight, because while some drivers seem to find the difficulty of there being the balance between conserve and push, you seem to find that right balance in the right times.
Yeah, it was. I went out there and practice, and all I did the entire time was just, see what I could do to save my tires and kind of just complete laps that I felt were okay enough speed-wise to just keep me in my position. Maybe I wasn't going to be the fastest car, but I wasn't going to just be getting blown by everyone else. And I managed to do that, thankfully, in terms of just waiting and progressing up through the field. I was just running the race I felt like I could, and if I could get close to somebody, it's just take advantage when you can, and hope that you get that spotter to call you inside before you get to the braking point, because otherwise that's a dive bomb. And I hate to dive bomb people. We make it an absolute point in this league to not dive bomb people.
So with that, some great points, because you were close into the championship entering tonight after the opening race. Unofficially believe you may or may not be the points leader, if not tied with Justin Morton. How are you feeling in turn then for when you come out of the 4th of July break for a run at IRP?
Yeah, this is awesome. I don't think I've ever won a race in the top division where we had an off week. I get to be the defending winner for 2 weeks in a row. This is pretty incredible. Calendar weeks, not race weeks anyways. But it feels pretty good to have the momentum. I think I'll be tied with Justin on points. I think he finished 3rd last race, so finishing a point behind me this time, I think we'll be tied. In terms of IRP, I don't know. Between you and me, and I guess the viewers, I hate our IRP. It's just, I'm awful there. I can never figure it out. It's one of those places where I think you have to run on the high side, and I never seem to be able to figure that track out, and it's just so crucial to hit your marks, and yeah, not a big fan.
Anyone you want to thank for the run tonight?
Yeah, big list of people. First off, the Lord, my parents, so nice to me, so helpful all the time with my new house. My wonderful girlfriend, Jacqueline, she's in Italy right now, so she'll wake up to get a message that I won this race. I'm sure she'll be pretty happy. She gets to come home soon. My teammate, J.R. Shepard, who also owns the team, my team, Different Path Motorsports. I got to thank him. He always teaches me so much about how to drive these tracks, and I'll be honest, I was kind of out in the woodshed, lost, out to lunch for sure, and JR kind of walked me through this track. So for him to do that and continue to be nice to me and support my efforts, just giving a helping hand is super awesome. Lowell for putting the league on, Gargamel's Kitchen, they're a fantastic partner for us. Justin for racing me so clean, and the same with Joe and Brian. They're an absolute joy to race with, and it's always nice for Justin and Matt to hop up in the team speak. It's so nice to kind of blow the breeze with them. It didn't have a whole lot of that because there weren't that many cautions, but super nice to have them in the team speak. And of course, you guys up in the booth, you guys do a fantastic job. And of course, Trevor, he's an absolute talent. Nobody better than him, in my opinion, about doing the directing, and he's just always on point. So it's an absolute pleasure to work with him on Tuesdays and every other opportunity I get to. And that's it. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you very much for the time, Austin. Congratulations on the victory this evening.
Thank you, buddy.
Austin Belke coming away with the win tonight. Justin Morton finished in 2nd. He's with Taylor.
Here with Justin Morton. Justin, you were so close to maybe having a chance of the win, just ran out of time when it came to the caution. Your thoughts on the racing tonight?
Yeah, it was definitely a race. I find this place pretty frustrating to race at. You can't. It's so hard to make a move here, just a single line, and you just kind of have to hope for that guy in front of you to make a mistake, and Austin didn't make a mistake all night. He actually made the racing easier for me since he made all the moves on the guys in front of us, and made my work easy getting to where I was. So pretty happy with where I finished at the end of the day.
Explain to our listeners a little bit about the difficulty of passing at a track such as here at Hickory.
Yeah, it's so flat and it's very bumpy, so if you get off that line just a little bit, it throws you off. If the corners feel very tight, almost in the center, like the radius gets a lot tighter, it feels like, but probably because it does, but it's just such a fine line between getting that correct line and just getting super tight and plowing out into the wall like I did a few times.
Well, before we let you go, Justin, anyone you'd like to say thank you to?
Yeah, I'd like to thank my team, Total Downforce Racing, Pixel Dust for the awesome paint, Austin, congrats on getting that win. I was like, whenever I get to see Austin get a win, even though if I finish behind him. Gargamel's Kitchen for sponsoring the league, Lowell for running this amazing league, and thank you guys for doing the broadcasting. You do a fantastic job.
That is Justin Morton coming home in P2 here tonight.
3rd spot tonight went to somebody we haven't talked too much with over the past long while, in fact. Brian Dean finished in 3rd tonight. Brian, you led some laps as well tonight. How are you feeling? 44 out of the 100 laps led went to you.
Luck brings us here tonight. Yeah, I got to lead a few. That felt pretty good. Third place. I think this is the first third place I've gotten in super late models. It's been a while.
It's been a couple years since we had the chance to talk to you here for the top 3, at least, I believe. But when it comes to tonight, how would you describe the handling of your car? Because you mentioned led a few. You tied for the most laps led, mind you.
Yeah, I was just trying to save tires and have enough for at the end. And maybe if a late caution happens, I can maybe steal a spot or 2 at the end. But those 5 or 6 guys are all faster than me, and I just hope to maybe squeak a top 5 once in a while. But the car felt good to me. It didn't, but I was taking it real easy.
And it seemed to work for a long while in this one here tonight. IRP is the next race after the 4th of July. Your thoughts there?
Like this track, it's not one of my better ones. But I should be starting behind like Matthew and JR and stuff. Hopefully I can use them to get back up to a top 5, top 4. You never know.
Hey, what do you want to thank for the run tonight?
No, I thank you guys, obviously. I haven't done that in a couple of years. Lowell, BRL, the guys, they're all awesome to race with every Saturday.
Thank you very much for the time, Brian.
Thank you.
That's Brian Dean, rounding out your top 3. I'd like to thank him, Justin Moore, and Austin Belke for taking the time to speak with us for tonight's post-race coverage here on VGN. And Taylor, good racing up at the front. Some tempers for Larry, yes. That picks up the victory.
It certainly does, Justin, and we're going to see that happening all season long. We really got to see it tonight with just how difficult it was for passing. But for Belke, he utilized that perfect balance of being aggressive on getting to the inside of his competitors, but really not doing a whole lot of beating and banging like we saw throughout the field with some other competitors here tonight. So it's going to be exciting to see what happens when we go to IRP in 2 weeks' time and take a little bit of a vacation here next week.
What are you going to be doing for the 4th of July?
Just having a little bit of fun here, watching some racing, of course, and just enjoying a little bit of cookout action, probably.
With that, though, we'd like to thank you for tuning in for tonight's action here on VGN, as well as thank the presenting sponsor of this series, Gargamel's Kitchen, a food-grade nitrous oxide provider located in Denver, Colorado, and a proud sponsor of the BRL. It's their office at 2045 South 20th Street, or give them a call at 720 where, it was mentioned on Tuesdays, the PGRL Premier Series goes live from Nashville Super Speedway. Who's going to be able to get the victory at Nashville? Find out at 8:50 p.m. on Tuesday. But it's time to say goodbye. For Trevor Greenfield, for Taylor Burris, I'm Justin Prince saying so long. Enjoy the rest of your evening. This has been a production of the Virtual Grip Network. Congratulations to Austin Belke, your winner from Hickory.